What is going on, everybody? So today I'm making this video because a lot of people in the comments were asking me about our coral dip and the process of that, and they wanted to get a little bit more information on that. So I'm making that video today because I have a little bit of time to address those comments. Now I'm going to kind of give you a quick glimpse of our coral quarantine process and how we go about trying to make sure our corals are quarantined. But first, we have this 30-gallon innovative marine right here that is just being consumed by algae, and it's only been up for a little bit. Sorry about the glare, but it's going through the ugly stage, and it's got major hair algae right here. Look at all that, like crazy. So what I'm gonna do is a deep cleaning on this aquarium and try to make it as spotless as possible. Look, even some cyanobacteria there. My goodness. This tank needs some love. The problem is we got some in the sand too, which is gonna be a little bit more difficult to get rid of, even growing on the coral. So this is the before, and then I will show you the after in a little bit, and also go through the process of the whole thing. But this is gonna be completely manual, no chemicals at all, just good old-fashioned elbow grease.
And moreover, Chris is such a pro that he's gonna take you through the whole process, and he's gonna get this tank immaculate, brand new, in 30 minutes. We're gonna set a timer.
That was not part of the deal. I'm working in the shop today, and now he's basically telling me, hurry up, you have more stuff to do. This is not cool. All right, so I'm gonna get started right now. 30 minutes on the timer?
30 minutes on the timer.
Here we go. So because this tank is so small, I just took out all the tonga branches out of the aquarium, and I'm just gonna scrub them out here on the bucket. And believe it or not, there was corals in the aquarium too. So look at all the algae on these frag plugs. So we're gonna go ahead and scrub these real good and do a hydrogen peroxide dip on them, because we wanna make sure all that algae is gone and we're not reintroducing it back into the aquarium. But right now, this is what the tank looks like. Completely devoid of corals and rock, with a lot of nastiness in the water column. Maybe a good water change, and we'll scoop up some of that hair algae, try to get this thing looking good. Got all the rocks clean, but these are tonga branches, and I'm probably gonna not put these back in the aquarium. I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna, instead of keeping these tonga branches in there, because we're not gonna do this as a display tank, we're gonna do this more as a observation tank. I'm just gonna put an egg crate in there. And then with the corals, the zoas mainly, that had hair algae on them, I did some hydrogen peroxide, and got half saltwater, half hydrogen peroxide, and you can see all the algae bubbling off.
You got 15 minutes, Chris.
All the frag plugs, so that they'll be nice and clean, and the algae,
1450.
so the algae will be gone and won't come back.
You haven't started dips yet?
And then over here, this is what the tank looks like right now. It's empty. I netted a bunch of hair algae out. There's still a little bit in there. And
Chris, it's cloudy.
I got the filter floss in here to help with the cloudiness. All right, so here's our frag tank, for example. So this stuff has been fragged up. It's been chopped up the best we could. Some of the stuff is wild, some of it's aquacultured. Either way, it's stuff that we don't fully trust. So for example, we have this really nice acan colony, a couple acan colonies. We have some star polyp that I fragged up into little bits. Star polyp is really popular in the hobby. Anybody knows that. People love that coral. Then some chalices, some red mushrooms that were aquacultured. Euphyllia corals, so you get the picture, right? So there's a mixed bag of everything in here. There's even some SPS. So the reason, and the monophora. So the reason why I'm kind of showing you guys this is some of this stuff is wild, some of it's conditioned frags. We quarantine every single thing that comes in here to the best of our ability, and we keep it for several weeks to even months before we put it up for sale and we feel comfortable with it. So let's go ahead and I'll show you the first round. I guess it would technically be the second round of treatment for these corals. So today I'm going to be taking these corals out, and now they've already been dipped and fragged up like I said. Now they're going to go for their second dip. Also dipping some corals right now in some potassium chloride. This is a 30-minute dip, and it is 7 grams per gallon. This particular batch right here is 2 gallons, so 14 grams of potassium chloride. And we have some stuff that is already dying coming off the corals, little worms right there. I'm keeping an eye out for any other weird little critter that might try to get through. Still got to be vigilant for aptasia also, but this is part of our process when treating the corals. Make sure to do our dips. And then they went from being in the vacuum QT to this dip to now going into like a basically a observation tank. This is the stuff right here, the potassium chloride. So more proof that this dip works. Look at that. That little worm is coming out of the actual, like inside of the coral. That worm was inside of that coral and it's found its way outside of the coral because the potassium chloride dip is affecting it that much. I've done a lot of dips in my time in this hobby, working at a fish store. I've done, the Coral RX, the you name it, I've done it, and I've even done the insecticide. This has been the most effective dip that I've ever been a part of. I've never seen worms living inside the coral that are burrowed inside the coral come out like the way this one is. It's incredible when you really start to see, like you can do those dips that will get the superficial stuff off, but when you get in something that's actually penetrating the coral and killing all the stuff that's trying to burrow and inside the coral for protection, and it's actually working like that, it's pretty damn cool. He'll eventually flop and die because the rest of them here have come out and died. There's a bunch of little critters in here that have all since passed. It just goes to show you how effective this dip is. Got the corals in the potassium chloride dip. And so far, I've only been in here for a little bit. I'm keeping an eye out to see if I see anything suspicious going on here. These acans will not stay as whole colonies. We will end up fragging them up into little bitty pieces. So just it makes them less likely that things can hide when they're in smaller colonies, when you break them up into smaller heads. Because a lot can still stay tucked in there in big colonies and hide, just like we saw that worm come out of that chalice coral. A lot can still hide. So this acan's not really feeling it. Sometimes it's good when they do that because you can clearly frag in between those lines. That is helpful. But so far, nothing has come out that I see, but I will continue to look and make sure. Oh, and here is the 30-gallon tank after I gave it a good clean. Right here we have the corals that I previously dipped in the potassium chloride. They'll be in this aquarium right now for observation. And even just after that dip, look at how they look already. So the corals look really good right now. The heads are out, and for 30 minutes in a pretty strong dip, that's a good sign. I mean, you feel the hammer corals are all out. You got the trumpet coral looking nice, the bubble coral looking nice, even polyps out here. Chalice coral's not looking very stressed. Everything looks really, really good. So the dip work, it's effective, and the corals seem to be happy right now. So that's what this little 30-gallon tank is going to be used for. That's why we wanted to clean it up and make it extra nice and stay on top of it, because now it's a observation tank. And once we get past the observation stage, we will go into our QT holding, like where everything is for sale. That's once they make it through all these quarantines, they will come here to be for sale. And for those of you who don't watch my videos, we also quarantine fish here. This is a Midas bunny that is currently in observation right now. We have a couple of them. This one is actually still being treated with formalin, and then we have another one over here that's in observation, all on separate filtration. So this is its own separate enclosed system, and it's even sealed on the top, so no cross-contamination. We also got a nice batch of clownfish in. Look at these beauties. Just came in today, so they'll go through their quarantine also. So yeah, we do quarantine of fish, but that video, I made plenty of videos on the quarantine fish systems here at work. Look at that, I love clingfish. Look at him, he thinks he's gonna eat. These guys are aggressive eaters, and their mouth is deceptively big. Oh, we also had a new batch of Bergia nudibranchs just hatched not too long ago, and we got some aptasia that we're feeding them, but we got a ton of babies. I'm so happy about this because It seemed like they weren't breeding there for a minute, and then all of a sudden, boom, a bunch of them. So I'm really, really stoked about that because, ooh, look at the size of this one right here. Holy moly. Because these are expensive, so if we can breed them, that's going to be a huge deal for us because they're in high demand. And we can also sell them for, we can sell them for cheaper and they're more cost effective if we can breed them here for people, for our customers. I'll also be giving an update on this nano aquarium in the shop, our display tank. Give you an update on what's been going on here. You can see there's some new additions, but I'm really going to take you guys through it and explain to you the process of what's been going right and what's been going wrong. And then I can also go through this tank right here because we have this giant pectinia and two of them actually. That's giant one, Space Invader, and then we have another pectinia down here. And we have to do something with this. So I want to get your guys' opinion on that. Tons of coral still in here, but eventually this whole thing will be fragged up and chopped up, and then this tank will be out of here and replaced with something else. But we'll talk about that in the next video. This tank over here is kind of our holding tank, so we get colonies in or wild or aquaculture stuff, or somebody's breaking down a tank and they'll give us their corals. All their stuff goes into here. And you can see that we have Aptasia in here. See that? I hate Aptasia, it's like my arch nemesis. And there's probably some other little critters in here that probably you would not want in your reef tank. This is basically what you would see at any other fish store. They would sell you stuff like this. If it had Aptasia on it, it's like whatever, they wouldn't care. But all this stuff will be fragged up. And what I mean by fragged up is this whole toadstool right here is gonna be hacked up into a million pieces. And something like this big star polyp will be hacked up a bunch. And we'll have to go through it with a fine tooth and comb and make sure that we have no Aptasia or anything else. And it'll be treated for hydroids and it'll be treated for everything else. This big colony of hammers will be all fragged up into individual pieces, or as low as we can get them, and just frag them to where the tissue's at, the live tissue is, and glue them up on frag plugs, and then they're going to go through their quarantine. But we do have people who occasionally will break down a tank, or we'll get wild colonies in, and we put them in this holding facility with this little tank right here, this holding tank, and they're treated, we're observed right here first, and then we'll hack them up and break them down just so we have somewhere to put them. So, you know, that way we're not having to rush and do everything, but we buy ourselves a little bit of time. But if you're not careful, like this piece right here, I don't know if you can see it, also has an Aptasia on it over there. So you gotta be careful. This whole colony has Aptasia all over it. And even something like these snails will have Aptasia on them, or hydroids or something. Very careful. So it's been 30 minutes and I'm starting to switch over to my rinse. But I just wanted to give you an example of why we have to frag up these acan corals. Look at this. Look at all the surface area there are for little things to hide. Little copepods, little worms. You can see where there's like traces of things that are living in this coral that bury into the skeleton and live there, and they're protected. So that's why you have to frag them up, because usually when you frag them up, a bunch of stuff comes pouring out, little worms, little copepods and things like that. So it's just increasing your odds of being successful during a quarantine. All right, so that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, like always, put them down in the comments and I'll do my best to get back to you guys. See you on the next one.